Hey guys, welcome back to the Heart of Clay series. Today I figured let's go ahead and make a mug so we can introduce a new technique, which is called slipping and scoring, okay? Now it sounds fun and also painful, so bear with me. But first thing we want to do is we got this chunk of clay. Let's just go ahead and rip off a decent chunk of it that we're gonna make our handle out of. Now, before we make the vessel, it's really important that we start off with making the handle so that it can dry while we're making the mug part, okay? So, just like normal, let's go ahead and really warm up that clay. And what I'm doing is just kind of gripping it, slapping it, and turning it so that it turns into this little guy. Now, one thing that you want to do is we'll get our nice little fancy cup of water, and to do a handle, there's a lot of ways. You can roll one out, you can do, we're gonna pull one. So today, what we're gonna do is dip that clay in there, and we're just gonna kind of squeeze and pull down, okay? And we're gonna rotate it, get it a little more wet, squeeze, and roll it down. Maybe I'll put this to the side so you can see a little bit better. We're just gonna squeeze, pull down, okay? Now, once you get to about this size right here, this is when you can start making it into the handle shape. So I'm just gonna take my fingers like this in between and just kind of compress and pull down. Go to the side here, turn it around. We want it to be as even as possible, okay? Now, thankfully for a mug, like we don't really need a super long handle. And so, as you can tell, when you start to bend it this way, it's starting to look like a handle. Now that we've got this part done, let's go ahead, get all the water out of our sponge. And I'm just gonna swipe this here so that it dries out a little quicker. Move this guy over here for a sec. Let's lay down our handle and take our needle tool and just give it a little slice. We could slice it up here just to be safe. So in theory, like this is what we're gonna use for our handle. Then you could just put the rest of the clay in your clay box or bin or bag. I don't know how that was so hard to say. Ooh, words, they can be hard. I'm just gonna seal this guy up here so that my clay doesn't dry out. It's funny, most of the time you don't want your clay to dry out, but in this case we do. So, real quick, let's just go ahead and grab our hairdryer. Look, that was like probably 60 seconds. Wonderful. Okay, you can kind of feel that it's starting to be leather hard in a way, but it's still moldable and it doesn't crack. That's the key, because if I really bend this, you'll start to see the clay try and stretch and it could crack. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna kind of lay it on its side here, angled like this, so it's already naturally kind of curved, and set that aside. All right, now the fun part. So let's go ahead and take this cute little block of clay and let's wake it up. Let's wake it up and get going. It's time to go. So, I really hope you're having a good day today. And if you're not, it's okay. I get it. But if you would, I invite you just to do one simple thing and just do that. It's a lot easier to smile than it is to frown. That's science, by the way. All right, let's go ahead and knead this clay. So again, we're just gonna push down, roll back up. We're gonna keep doing that until, you guessed it, we got a little monkey face. If that looks like a monkey, please let me know in the comments. If not, we'll rename him, or we can even name the guy, all right? Jerry or Gerald, or I don't know, whatever you guys think. Let me know in the comments. But we're gonna continue, maybe something with cinnamon roll guy. I don't know, something clever. I'll keep thinking about it. Anyways, we're kneading the clay. We're getting this guy all kneaded up. We're really close. Now let's go ahead and roll it into itself like that. All right, I'm just gonna grab a little bit of water. Let's make this mug. It's kind of a cold day today. We're in Utah, and it started to snow. And we're in the middle of April, so that's cool. You never know. I think I could go for a hot cocoa mug like ASAP. All right, we've got our clay in the middle here. We can give it a few slaps if you want to, but let's go ahead and center this guy. So we're gonna get him wet. Take our hands on the sides. There we go. I'm gonna kind of go up and down a little bit. See, I got it wet. I'm gonna drag that pinky and just really slowly push in and up. So first things first, we wanna make a cone. Should we see how tall we can go? Maybe we could go so tall that it cuts out a frame with the side camera angle. Wow, see all those nice, cute little stress marks? It's like art within art. We're doing art, and your art is right there on your art. It reminds me of The Office. Your art is the most beautiful art of all art. All right. Leave a comment if you love that show. So let's go ahead. Leave a comment if you've never heard of that show too. I'd really love to meet you. We're gonna bring it up again. Now I feel something kind of funny down here. So if you ever have that, you can just kind of drag your finger a little bit. Wow, look at that. Did you hear that? I think there was a little tiny hidden air bubble. Okay, get that wet. Let's go up one more time. Oh yeah, this one's gonna be tall, you guys. It's gonna be nice and tall. Slowly let off. All right, now let's go ahead and bring this guy back down. So I've got my hand on the side, squeezing with the sponge, and we're just gonna take a deep breath. Go back down, because we need to get this guy nice and centered. Now, I'm gonna keep the hand angled in. We're gonna really compress against the clay. Look at that. Going right into that cute little English muffin shape. Let's get rid of some of that clay on the bottom. You can make it a little bit easier when you're centering to, put your hand on the side here and then compress with the top. I'm gonna angle my hand in because I really like this little, I don't know, it's like an English muffin, but a tower. Kind of reminds me of the pyramids a little bit, but with the top cut off. It's just really great because now we're set up to dig this hole down in here. Now make sure, since this is a mug, last week we made a succulent pot. And if you go too far down in a succulent pot, it's no big deal because it's for a plant. You put a hole in the bottom of your pot, it's a planter pot. You put a hole in the bottom of your hot cocoa mug or coffee mug, you're in trouble and you're not going to be very happy with me. So just try and keep about that much at the bottom there, okay? Now, I'm going to pull that clay towards me now that we've got the right depth here. I'm thinking a nice wide mug, almost like a soup bowl, if you've ever seen one of those, but not quite that big. So I'm gonna go ahead and compress the bottom here to do everything we can to make sure that our mug here doesn't have any mishaps in the kiln. This prevents cracking. There are some products out there that if it's a small crack, you can kind of take some epoxy and get it filled in and stuff, but sometimes it's just easier to do it right the first time, right? All right, so we've got our base all compressed. So now we are ready to start bringing it up. So I pulled this out pretty wide. Now what I want to do is set the walls by kind of pushing on the outside to realign the walls there. Yeah, there we go. Now I'm going to drag my thumb up and in because we really like this shape. It's almost like a volcano shape. And let's bring this guy on up. So don't forget to get that wet. Wrap that sponge around there with our fingers inside. Push down and in to really scoop that clay. Let's bring our hands in on up. Oh yeah, it's looking good. Slowly let off. Now don't forget to breathe when you do that. I totally just did. And maybe you could tell when I got to the top, I'll go, oh. Imagine doing a huge pot, it's crazy. All right, we're gonna just push a little bit with our inside hand. So if you're first starting out, like really be patient with yourself and just push on the outside. Because it'll prevent you from pushing through the wall, which then helps you gain more confidence when you're throwing, so that when you feel confident about bringing it up with just pushing on the outside, then you can start kind of messing around with the inside a little bit more, you know, carefully, cautiously, and you'll just have more control. So many potters go wrong that way. They just go right through the wall. But hey, there's also a plus side to that. When you go too far, you know when to stop. So there's also that. All right, let's go ahead and smooth this guy out. So we need to heat this up. I'm thirsty. And I'm cold. There's snow outside in spring. Riddle me that. Where are you from? Put in the comments. I want to know, is it cold where you are? Is it really warm? Or is it like Utah, where it doesn't really know? It's hot and cold, hot and cold. Okay, look at that. That is stacking up to be a nice mug. Okay, real quick, but not too quick because we don't want to go too fast. I'm gonna do a finger pull because it's perfectly set up for it. That's where you just push a little bit with both fingers, mainly your inside finger, and your outside finger just kind of follows up the clay. Oh yeah. Oh, there we go. At the very top, just kind of slowly let off. There we go. Whew. Okay. We got a little bit more height. I know that I want to get a lot of hot cocoa in here. Don't worry, later on in this season, we're gonna make some Japanese style teacups. So feel free to go big here with this guy. So just like how we learned with the bowl, I actually kind of want the mug to kind of do this thing. We're not gonna go, you know, anything too big, but I'm just gonna slowly, oh, I need to go much slower. Drag our inside finger up the tool. Oh, it's so satisfying to watch it kind of change shape. I'm gonna slowly let off because I like to have my mugs arch in a little bit. It also helps when you drink it to have it arched in a little bit, then it won't be running down your mouth. Just try and make a mug that's flared out and you'll know what I mean. Now let's take our wood, or metal rib tool. Barely bend it, like barely. Because I don't know about you, but I feel like mugs They can be all sorts of shapes and colors and sizes and sizes. Emphasis on the shape. Look at that. Ah, I really like that. Okay, we're gonna slowly back off. So if you ever get that moment where you're being super creative and you're like, okay, I want to embrace this shape, you can let off slowly. And what I thought of is like, oh, I'm gonna really kind of put a divot in there. That'll be great. And then let's go ahead and do it up here too, with the edge of this metal rib tool. Disclaimer, this tool is so sharp, so just be very, very careful. Okay, let's grab this guy. And because this is still pretty thick, we can mess with the bottom a little bit. If your clay is really thin, I would heat it up first if I were you. But quick trick, if you flip this guy around like this and then just slowly push in and down, keep that tip down towards your little mug, the clay is gonna go up the tool instead of flipping up onto your mug. Look at that. Gosh, I wish someone would have told me that in high school. That's where I learned how to do pottery, and I can't tell you. See, it's a lot easier to catch a little bit of clay than a bunch of clay that gets up on there and kind of messes your pot. Okay, here we go. Oh, that's looking so good. Let's go ahead and finish off with getting this tool in here to make it a nice, complete shape there. Wow, this is stacking up to be a cool little dealio here. All right, oh, don't worry, it's gonna come to life. We've got a couple minutes to heat this guy up. So go ahead and clean off your hands unless you want your hair dryer or torch to be caked with clay. Kind of like how mine is actually. I'm gonna clean it off. All right, let's heat this guy up. So remember, before you start it, put it in here like this and then turn it on. That way you don't accidentally mess up your pot before you heat it up. All right. I'll turn that off while I tell you this because it's really important. We don't want to heat this up too much because we still need to attach the handle. So it is still pretty tacky though, so I'm gonna do the inside. Well, I think that's looking great. What do you think? Yep, okay. Let's take this guy. It's about to be slip and score time. Remember, hold it tight, push down, and just slowly slide through. Be slow. Let the clay cut itself off the wheel, you guys. Okay. Now we're just gonna kind of pull up and roll. Oh yeah, that is so great. Okay. Take our cute little bat or plate, move him to the side. Now, before we slip and score, let's take care of the bottom real quick, okay? So we're just gonna take this guy, the sponge, with a little bit of water, and smooth it out. Take your time. This part is super healing because you're taking all these, you know, it's got a beautiful design on the bottom because it's got a little swirl, but I'm just gonna take these kind of rough lines and make it go smooth, which can be very therapeutic. Get that all cleaned up. I love that texture too, that the sponge adds. Now, it's gonna be our best friend for the next few minutes. We're just gonna sign it while we can before it gets too hard. Actually, if it dried out and you signed it, it's fine too. You just wanna sign it before it goes in the big oven, the kiln. All right, got that signed. I don't know why I threw that because we're gonna need it, but So to kind of, it's gonna suction cup a little bit. So you just gotta kind of lift it up and turn, okay? And that should be good, just like that. Now, let's go ahead and add the handle. So this is a really chunky piece of clay. So ideally what you wanna do is maybe cut it down to like this section, because you do want it thicker up here and thinner down here. So I'm just gonna take it, and maybe what we'll do, you can go straight on or you can kind of angle it like this. And I'll show you why. So that if your handle is curved like this, you can bend it kind of into place and it'll be a little bit easier to attach. So there's a couple ways to do this. I mean, the possibilities are endless. I've done pots like that before. It's really cool. I usually just go to right there, and then this piece down here, I'm actually gonna cut down a little bit because I don't want like a massive handle on mine. I kind of like a more slim, sleek style. So what we're gonna do is probably just do something like this, where we have, I'm gonna kind of pinch. I don't want that as thick as I thought I did. Okay, maybe get a little water here in case that's drying out a little bit. That always helps when you're doing a handle, because it's gonna go through. We kind of let it dry a little bit. Okay, so let's go ahead and really bend that to where we want it. That's looking pretty good. And then maybe right there, take a step back. There's not too much space for your hand to go in, so in that case, what looks good? Maybe like that. Ooh, maybe a little bit more like this. I like that. Okay, so once you get where you want it, that's when you're gonna take your needle tool, I know, and you're gonna carve right into it, because you want to kind of trace where this handle's gonna go, because at least get the bottom and top part. So when you pull it off, look, that's where our handle's gonna go, and you're literally just gonna score it with the needle tool. There we go. It's nice and soft. It's like borderline almost too soft. Be careful you don't poke a hole through your mug on this part. Okay. And then before we attach the cute little handle, we're gonna score these parts here. And you're probably wondering like, well, what about the slip part, right? Don't worry, I'm gonna show you in just a second. Once we get that all kind of scored. Now the slip comes into play where ideally you could, it's like water, it's like this stuff. This is actually slip right here. So let's just go ahead and take that. You can also just put like water on the edge of your little needle tool and use water is totally fine. But since we have it right here, we might as well use it. It's just like really watered down clay. I'm gonna use a little bit of water for down here. Get some more of that water, there we go. Get some water to go in here. Maybe we'll get some more of this slip, because that'll fill it nice. And oh yeah, it's like glue for the clay. Okay, now this part's really important. So when you go to attach your handle, brace the back here, okay? Your pottery's still delicate. What you need to do is move it back and forth, and then kind of push down and over like that. See this part? We're gonna really like mold that into your mug like this. So you don't want that guy to come off. So you kind of push that clay into the mug so it adheres. There we go, that's looking pretty good. Now let's do it to the bottom here. So we're gonna push into it. We're gonna like really like mold that clay to your pot. And then these parts on the inside, just get your needle tool a little wet. Just pull down. Get that all smoothed out. Especially that, look at that. We need to smooth that out. It's looking good. This part's on there solid. Okay. Probably wondering like, holy cow, what do you do? And it's like all, it doesn't look very smooth and stuff like that. We're gonna give our pot a little fluff there, make it more round because it's got memory. It knows where it's been. Get your finger a little wet and just kind of go in like this. Like this, like that. And then pull. Just kind of use your finger to smooth it out. Get it looking nice and good. The more you do this, the better and better your handles are gonna look too. Now, here's where I'm gonna battle a little bit with this shape. I want it to actually be kind of like this. So get it to the type of shape that you're wanting. Again, I'm bracing on the inside because I want to like really smooth all this out here. There we go. That's feeling really good. There we go. That all smoothed out. Ho, 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 ho. If you're worried about it, you could stick a bag over this so that it dries, but also not sealed, so that it dries slower. Look at that, we're gonna smooth that out, okay. Okay, one last sweep through with my finger that's wet. Get it nice and wet. That'll get rid of any like kind of finger marks. Even though that's what's kind of cool is, whether you use this or you gift it to someone, you can be like, hey, all these natural little lines and stuff, that's my finger. So it was handmade, custom by Tyler or whatever your name is. What's your name? Put it in the comments. I want to know your name. That way I can respond to you by your name. Everybody loves hearing their name. It's like the most pleasing word to every human being, I think, is their name. I think that's why when I've had moments where I truly feel and God knows my name, it's an amazing experience because I love hearing my name, but from him, it's really special. We got to put this guy in the kiln. So let's go ahead and bisque fire this piece. Here we go. Oh, it's been bisque fired. So we're ready to go ahead and glaze this guy. Let's jump right into it. So we've got this glaze from Penguin Pottery Supplies, matte black series. Okay. So what we need to do is make sure this is all mixed in super well. And we've already done that. So let's just go ahead and open this up and start glazing. So on this one, I did add a little bit more water because I've noticed on the last couple pieces, the last couple episodes, you've noticed it's been pretty thick. So what we're gonna do, I love glazing mugs, and here's why. You get to glaze the whole thing holding the handle and then glaze the handle at the end. It's super nice. But to start, what we're gonna do, let's get that bottom rim, okay? So let's go ahead and dip our 1 1/4 brush here. And I really like, oh, look at that. I think my brush had a little bit of water in it, as you can see. So let's give that a little extra love. No big deal. We're just gonna add a little bit more glaze than we otherwise would. But at first, let's go ahead and get this brush. We're just gonna take it on the edge here and make sure it's nice and thick. Okay, see that? What that does is it kind of creates a line for us that we want to be able to, there we go. We want to be able to draw out for us so that we can easily paint the rest. So grab a nice thick amount of that glaze and then find your edge and then just kind of push and turn your brush like this, and it'll kind of spit out all that thick wave of glaze is what I like to call it. And we're just going to work that back and forth. Oops, I went a little high, but that's okay. As long as it doesn't touch the bottom, right? Because you remember, if you were with us the last couple episodes, what happens if you glaze the bottom? It's no bueno. It'll stick to your kiln shelf. And that's a very expensive mistake to make, because if you ruin your kiln shelves typically are, for a half kiln shelf for a smaller kiln, like around $26 to replace. But if you want like the full size shelf, you're looking at like $60 to $68 depending on where you go. So yeah, save your kiln shelves. Let's be nice to them and make sure not to glaze the bottoms. Another way that you can accidentally ruin your kiln shelf is if you have a glaze that you've never fired before, and so you don't know if it drips. Okay? Now most glazes that are like store-bought, they're great. Like they've already done all the testing. You're good to go. I owned this pottery studio called the Creative Kiln. And I remember when I was like buying glaze in bulk, we had this local guy help us mix it. And they didn't do any of the testing. And so I'd buy this like $200, 5-gallon bucket of glaze. And we started glazing our customers' pieces with it. And all of the glaze would drip down, and then it would like glue their pieces to the bottom of the kiln or the bottom of the shelf. And we had a lot of upset customers. So looking back at that, like probably should have asked them if they had tested it. I just kind of trusted they did because they make it. And okay. Whoops. If that ever happens, it's no big deal, because guess what you're going to do? You're going to find a nice sponge. I'm doing this left-handed, so no judgments. It's got just a little bit of water. We're going to go back and forth in that spot and just clean up that spot. So if your line ever gets kind of messed up, really don't fret. You can still clean it right off. You're good to go. Just like that. So I'm glad you saw that. It was a little embarrassing, but this is a safe place. Okay. Let's go ahead. I think we're looking pretty good on the outside. Jeez. Almost there. We're kind of by this handle here. Now that we've got a thick layer on the bottom, I just must have gotten a little carried away. This must be our third coat. We're going to do 3 coats. Look how much easier it goes on the second coat. Isn't that incredible? Like you barely have to even, I put a little extra glaze because we hadn't glazed that part yet. But look, it just floats. Getting close to the edge again, Tyler. Easy does it, easy does it. I like a little bit of risk. Okay. Now, if your handles are ever kind of like cracked or something, you can actually use glaze to fuse them. So I'm gonna stick this brush, I'm gonna get a lot of glaze on the end of that brush, and I'm just gonna stick it in there like this, and then do the same thing on the outside. Just get tons of glaze down in there, and that'll actually kind of fuse it a little bit more. Basically, you'll have a little more peace of mind. Your handle will become even stronger. All right, let's just do one more quick layer on the outside, because the inside, I think, is gonna go really, really quick. I'm excited to see what this is gonna look like. It's called matte black. So we have a pretty good idea from the picture there, but you just never know. Like you never know what it's gonna look like when it comes out the other end of the kiln, because it goes under such intense heat and pressure in there, which is kind of a beautiful life lesson. You know, the pottery, when we first made it, it was really delicate. Now it's gotten stronger. Now it's gonna go through one more firing and come out just completely different, like butterfly effect. So if you ever feel like in your life right now, you've gotten stronger and you felt like you were going somewhere and then it got really hard, like you got put back in the kiln one more time, well, you're in good company, my friend. You're in the last firing before an incredible butterfly effect of beauty comes out. So don't fret. Don't doubt, just believe. It's one of my favorite sayings. Don't doubt, just believe. Okay, we've got the outside really well. Let's go ahead and do the inside here real quick. Now the inside is really important, especially this time, because we're gonna be drinking out of this mug. So it's really important that you get at least 2 to 3 coats. This bottle recommends 3 coats, so I'm not even gonna mess around with 2. I'm just gonna really like lay it on thick in there, but not too thick. Just thick enough to where we've got 3 coats, maybe 3.5/4. Just make sure our bases are covered. Wow, nice design, Tyler. This is kind of hard to glaze with these little lumps here. Whew, my hand's getting tired. Are you getting tired? All right, now we're on our second. Look how much quicker it just goes in there like that. Wow. Now, there is a little piece of glaze that just dropped onto the pottery wheel. I just wanted you all to see that and know that I'm aware, so that if I go to put this guy down on one of those little beads, it's not gonna adhere the whole mug to the kiln shelf, but it will stick a little bit and it could damage your piece. So just be cautious if you ever accidentally get glaze on the bottom of your piece, that you just wipe it down with a sponge, then you're good to go. And honestly, you can actually use this, let me introduce it to you. It's this stuff called wax resist. And I really like how Penguin Pottery Supplies, they actually, with all their groupings of glaze, they give you wax resist to go with it. And so basically you just dedicate one of your brushes to the wax resist, and before you start glazing, you can put that stuff on the bottom of your piece, Or you can even tape off certain designs and put it on there so that when you go to glaze, everything else gets glazed except for where you put the wax resist. So it's actually really helpful artistic tool, not just to keep the bottom of your pieces clean. And so if you'd like to see that in a future episode, please comment below and we'll see if we can make that happen. It can be kind of fun. One time I did this bowl in middle school for my English teacher, and he was an old school guy. He's actually passed away since, Mr. Dean. God, I miss that guy. He changed so many lives at my school here in Pleasant Grove, Utah. But he was just so understanding of us all. In fact, at the end of the semester, he would have us go to him and say, and tell him what grade we felt like we deserved. And I had been spending so much time in the pottery studio, and sometimes like skipping his class, or me and my buddy Parker would come to class because he was in the same class. Parker was in the pottery studio with me all the time too. And we would be at the studio till like 9 o'clock at night or midnight, just so tired. So we'd like fall asleep in his class because his classroom had the lights off and just a few lamps, which was super cool. I actually really loved it. And so anyways, at the end of the semester, I actually made him this beautiful bowl. And I had taped like spirals into it so that this red glaze was one side of the spirals, and then this gray is a matte gray, kind of like this glaze was the other spirals. And it was beautiful. But since I did slack off quite a bit in that class just because of the circumstances, I told them, I think I deserve a B minus, maybe B plus. It's like, what do you feel like I deserve? And so yeah, that's just how it went. Because I gifted him the bowl, okay? So I definitely deserved a decent grade. No, I'm just, there wasn't any bargaining or anything. It was just a kind gesture that I wanted to do. I actually wonder where that bowl ended up since he passed away. He was such a classy guy. Okay, so I think he was in the CIA actually. I'll have to talk about him more like another time, but he totally drove this not super old, but semi-old Porsche. And you know he wasn't there for the money, obviously. No teacher is. Hopefully, because they barely make anything. He was really there for the kids. I know that 100%. So, anyways, there's my little story. We are done. Let's go ahead and throw this in the kiln for glaze fire and see how it turns out. Oh, whoa. All right, check out my man mug here. So we've got this matte black glaze on here. Look at the stark difference here between the clay color and the glaze. I really like how this turned out. I could almost just already see myself using it. Well, friends, I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and thanks for joining us. Hope to see you on the next one where we're gonna make some pretty cool stuff. So, hope you have a great day.